The first video I'm going to do for you is breathing and getting your body into a neutral alignment before we start any exercises. So Paul is already in a neutral position. So you'll notice that his head is on the floor. You can, if you find it more comfortable, just pop a cushion under the head, or a towel or something like that if you need one. Generally you just don't want this front of the neck to be overstretching, so you want it to be more or less level. Now you want your knees hip width apart. Now often people will have their knees really wide, thinking, especially women, thinking that their hips are that wide, and you want to be focusing on the bones of your hips. And your feet are also flat on the floor, so something to be aware of is the rolling out of the feet. And then your shoulders are nice and relaxed with your hands lengthened down the side. Now to bring yourself into a neutral pelvis, if you think of the shape of the spine, there's always a natural curve of the lower part of the spine. So in that part there, obviously you don't want a massive curve and you don't want to have a rounded back like that. If you try and lie in a natural position and just let your body settle, so just relax your shoulders, your neck and everything else. And the area you want to be focusing is on the hip joint. So often, if you just tuck your pelvis under, often, if you find there's a big curve towards you, that means your pelvis is rolling in towards you. And likewise, if it's rolling right the other way, you can have this massive arch in your back. So you want to come to the center point between the big arch or between there. So your spine isn't actually imprinting in the mat, it's just slightly off. So the way I explain to my clients is, if you imagine you want to rest a cup of tea, smack in between the pelvis there, just as well as my husband. You want to imagine you have a cup of tea resting in the pelvis there. So if you imagine putting one there, if it looks like it's going to roll towards you, then you know you just need to push your hips slightly back. Depending on the shape of your pelvis, it might feel really odd. So my pelvis is what they call a posteriorly tilted pelvis, so I tend to have a bit more of a tucked in bum. So when I'm in neutral, it feels like I'm actually arching my back, but I am in a neutral pelvis. So even if it feels slightly odd, it is still the correct position for you. So to start the breath work, what I want you to do is just take a deep breath in, and then just exhale. So breathe out for as long as you can and just notice what happens around the tummy. So you'll notice that these muscles start connecting, the belly button starts dropping down towards the spine. So take another breath in and then exhale. Now when you get to the end of the exhale, you can feel that connection. You'll notice that the belly starts dropping underneath the rib cage over here. So just think of holding that there, so keep that connection. And now you need to take your air in through the rib cage. So as you expand, it's the rib cage that's expanding, not the belly, so that you can keep that connection. It's very difficult to do some of the moves if you are letting this core go. So that is how you breathe in Pilates. And it might come naturally to you, sometimes it can take a bit of practice. What I will say about breathing is there is a lot of emphasis on breathing when you should breathe. And for sometimes it is relevant for some moves that we do, other times it's not relevant. So I will tell you how to breathe, but follow what your own body wants you to do. Provided you have this connection, you should be safe. So it's best relevant. Every time I say the word relevant, he goes elephant. So he's chuckling. Yeah, at least we've finished with the breath work now. So that is your neutral. This is called semi-supine position. So this is your neutral pelvis. So give the breath work a go. Like I said, don't get too hung up on it, providing you can keep this connection. It's almost like giving your spine a hug, so all the muscles get really tight around the waist. Great, see you in the next video. Bye.